Today, I officially said goodbye to the company I have worked for more than 30 years and started a brand new retirement life. Leaving the familiar office and saying goodbye to my colleagues, I have a lot of feelings in my heart. In the past decades, I have devoted myself to my work and contributed to the development of the company. Now, I can finally unload the heavy burden on my shoulders and start to enjoy the leisure time of retirement. When I got home, my wife Tracy had already prepared a sumptuous dinner, and the aroma of the food came out of my nose. The table was set with my favorite red wine and steak. Candlelight, the atmosphere is warm and romantic. Tracy looked at me with a smile, raised the glass in his hand. "My dear, congratulations on your honorable retirement. Open a new chapter in your life." We gently clinked glasses, red wine into the throat, mellow and rich. After a delicious dinner, Tracy said mysteriously, "I've also prepared a special gift for you to celebrate your retirement." After that, she took me to the garage. I looked in disbelief at the scene in front of me. A 1965 Ford Mustang is quietly parked there. Its body lines were beautiful, and its black paint glistened in the light. It was the classic car of my youth. "This is a gift I picked out for you," Tracy said proudly. "I know you've always wanted a Ford Mustang, and now your dream has come true." I hugged Tracy excitedly and thanked her for her thoughtfulness and effort. At that moment, I felt so happy and satisfied. Owning a car like this symbolizes the beginning of a new life, a sign of endless freedom and possibilities. Early the next morning, I couldn't wait to get into the driver's seat of the Mustang. The leather seat smelled amazing, and the steering wheel felt warm to the touch. I turned the key and the engine roared to life. I drove onto the highway, the cool wind blowing in my face, and the power of the engine roaring under my feet. The feeling of free riding made my heart pound. Driving the Mustang on a winding mountain road, the trees on both sides of the road were receding rapidly. I felt like I was back in my youth, rediscovering the passion of life, while Tracy sat in the passenger seat, enjoying the beautiful scenery. We looked at each other and smiled, understanding each other. At this moment, we seemed to have returned to the happy time when we were newlyweds. Over the next few days, Tracy and I discussed our plans for retirement. We agreed that we should make good use of this precious time to fulfill some of the unfulfilled wishes of our youth. "Let's take the Mustang and go on a road trip," Tracy excitedly suggested. Tracy excitedly suggested. I immediately agreed, imagining exploring unknown landscapes and experiencing the feeling of freedom with my beloved. We started making travel plans, researching routes, and booking accommodations. Every night, we snuggled up together and thought about the wonderful time we were about to have. I was so excited about what we were going to do, and I was sure that this trip would be a romantic and unforgettable part of our married life. Ever since I received my coveted Ford Mustang as a retirement gift from Tracy, my life has seemed to be filled with endless hope and possibilities. We planned a road trip to relive the romance and passion of our youth. However, just as I was immersed in my vision of the future, a chance discovery completely shattered my dreams. Later that evening, I was in the den organizing my travel documents when Tracy's cell phone suddenly beeped with a text message. She was in the kitchen preparing dinner, so I subconsciously glanced at the screen of my cell phone on the table. A text message appeared in front of me. "Honey, I'll see you at the usual place on Friday. I can't wait. Love you, Ralph." My heart instantly went cold. Ralph? Isn't that Tracy's coworker? Why are they chatting in such an ambiguous tone? A sense of foreboding gripped my heart. I pretended that I didn't see the text message and continued my work, but inside I was in turmoil. Over the next few days, I began to observe Tracy's every move. She seemed to be busy with work and housework as usual, and was very considerate to me. But I felt something was wrong. There was a hint of weakness and detachment in her smile. My heart was tormented, but I did not dare to open my mouth to ask questions, for fear of breaking the trust between us. Finally, one night when Tracy claimed to be working late, I worked up the courage to follow her quietly. I drove the Ford Mustang, keeping my distance from Tracy's car with a sense of trepidation. A few hours later, Tracy's car pulled up in front of a motel. I held my breath as I saw a familiar figure. "Ralph, get out of the car next to me," and they embraced warmly before walking into the motel together. I felt the heavens spinning, and a great sadness and anger came over me. With trembling hands, I took my camera out of the car and took pictures of their intimacy as hard evidence of my wife's infidelity. My eyes were blurred with tears, and my heart felt as if it had been torn in two. I couldn't believe that my wife, who had been with me for many years, had betrayed our marriage, and that man was actually her colleague. I sat alone in the car for a long time, unable to calm down, playing back in my mind our little by little, once sweet and vows, now all turned into nothing. I felt confused and helpless, not knowing how to face this cruel reality. The Ford Mustang, a symbol of freedom and hope, has now become a mocking footnote. When I got home, I stayed up all night with images of Tracy and Ralph together in my head over and over again. Our marriage, our future, seemed to be overshadowed by this infidelity. I began to question my failure as a husband, whether it was my lack of companionship and care that led to my wife's betrayal. Guilt, self-blame, and anger were intertwined, and I felt more confused than ever. However, I realized that this issue could not be swept under the carpet. I needed to face the reality and defend my dignity and rights. Tracy's infidelity had definitely cast a shadow over our marriage and our future, but I decided that I couldn't give up. I had to find out the truth, even if the outcome was brutal. The next day, I prepared to contact a private investigator to help me gather further evidence of Tracy's relationship with Ralph. In the meantime, I began to organize our finances and important documents, preparing for the worst. I realized that a tough battle was coming and I had to be prepared. Although my heart is full of pain and anxiety, but I know that I have to fight for myself, for our marriage. At this moment, I feel more lonely and helpless than ever. But I believe that as long as we insist on the truth and justice, we will eventually get out of the darkness and usher in a new dawn. Tracy's infidelity may signal the end of our marriage, but I will never give up my dignity and rights. No matter how difficult the road ahead, I will face it bravely until the day the truth comes out. After discovering Tracy and Ralph's infidelity, I knew that the photos alone were not enough, and I needed more solid evidence to prove their betrayal. So I decided to hire a private investigator to help me dig deeper and find out the details behind the truth. I contacted a private investigator named Steve, who is known for his sensitivity and professionalism. After meeting with him, I told him in detail what had happened and showed him the heartbreaking photos. Steve said he would do his best to find more evidence as soon as possible. A few days later, Steve brought in the first report of the investigation. The report detailed Tracy and Ralph's interactions at work, not only their frequent personal contacts at the office, but also their after-work outings. Not only did they have frequent personal contact in the office, but they often went out alone after work, and Steve captured photos of them having dinner at fancy restaurants and taking walks in the park, all of which spoke of their intimacy. Each photo, like a sharp blade, pierced my heart. But what really shocked me was Tracy's bank records, which Steve discovered showed that Tracy had been buying expensive gifts for Ralph for a long time, including expensive watches and golf equipment. These transactions clearly showed the unusual nature of their financial dealings. I couldn't believe that Tracy was taking our joint fortune and spending it on this shameful relationship. As the investigation progressed, Steve brought in more evidence. He followed and monitored Tracy and Ralph's secret meetings in a variety of settings, and they seemed to make no secret of their relationship. From luxury hotels to secluded villas, they seemed to make no secret of their relationship, and Steve took photos of them kissing, and for a moment, I felt my breath stop. I never thought I'd witness my wife's infidelity in such a way. Gradually, I realized that the affair had been going on for a long time. Thinking back to the past, Tracy's frequent overtime work, sudden business trips, now seemed to have another explanation. I felt angry, sad, and helpless, not only for Tracy's betrayal, but also for my own blindness and naivety. The family that we had built together over the years was in jeopardy because of the lies and deceptions. I began to question my failure as a husband. Was it because I was too busy at work and neglected to accompany and care for my wife that she betrayed me? Guilt, self-blame, and anger are intertwined. I fell into a deep confusion and pain. But I understand, more self-blame cannot change the established facts. I have to fight for themselves, for the dignity of the marriage. With this solid evidence, I realized it was time to take action. I decided to contact a lawyer immediately to discuss how to file for divorce. I knew that it would be a long and difficult battle, not only to face the cumbersome legal procedures, but also may have to endure Tracy's obstruction. But I was determined to defend my rights and interests and not to let betrayal and deception ruin my life. I sat at home alone, with a pile of evidence brought by Steve spread out in front of me. Tears blurred my eyes, every page of text, every photo, all told of my broken marriage and the woman I had loved for years, how my hands crushed them to pieces. I felt unprecedentedly lonely and helpless, as if the whole world was leaving me. Once, we agreed to walk hand in hand through every corner of life. But now, I have to face this cruel reality alone. Those beautiful memories, those sincere vows, now seem to be so ironic and unbearable. I was holding the keys of the Ford Mustang that should have carried our sweet memories, and I had mixed feelings in my heart, not knowing where to go from here. But I realized that life is still a long way to go, and I can't give up on it. Even if the front is full of thorns, I have to walk bravely to find their own happiness and dignity. This betrayal may signal the end of our marriage, but it does not mean the end of my life. I want to tear off the veil of lies, face the cruel truth. Only in this way can I find myself again and live a life that really belongs to me. When I was presented with the pile of solid evidence, I knew it was time to take action. Although my heart was still full of pain and anxiety, I realized that if I wanted to defend my rights and preserve my dignity, I had to face reality and make a decision. I contacted my old friend Willie Joseph, a divorce attorney who is well known in the legal community and who has been a friend of mine for many years, and who has always been highly regarded for his keen insight and professionalism. When I approached him for help, he did not hesitate to offer his assistance. We met at Willie's downtown law office. When I walked into his office, Willie was focused on reviewing a document. When he saw me, he put down the paper in his hand, got up and gave me a warm hug. At this difficult time, the support of a friend was a great relief. I told Willie the whole story, from the discovery of the unidentified text message, to the tracking photos of Tracy and Ralph's rendezvous, to the evidence collected by the private investigator. Willie listened patiently, nodding his head, frowning at times, and asking questions about the key details. After I told the whole story, Willie pondered for a moment and then began to analyze the case. He pointed out that Tracy's infidelity constituted marital betrayal based on the evidence I had provided, and that this provided sufficient grounds for me to file for divorce. He explained in detail the steps of the divorce process and my rights as an aggrieved party. We discussed the division of property, and Willie stated that I was entitled to a larger share of the property in light of Tracy's infidelity. He also mentioned that if Tracy contested this, we could use the evidence of infidelity as a bargaining chip. In addition to the property issue, we talked about the possibility of emotional damages, and Willie pointed out that Tracy's betrayal had caused me great emotional trauma, and that such damages should be recognized and compensated for by the law. He suggested that we could make a corresponding claim for damages in a lawsuit. When it comes to specific legal strategies, Willie offers several options. He suggested that we could preempt the divorce proceedings and take the initiative to seize the initiative. At the same time, we could also consider negotiating privately with Tracy to reach a divorce agreement through mediation to avoid lengthy court battles. In the face of Willie's professional advice, I felt more confident and powerful than ever before. With the support of the law and this solid evidence, I believe I will be able to win this divorce case and defend my legal rights. I expressed my determination to Willie that I would file for divorce immediately and asked him to be my attorney, which he gladly did, and said he would do his best to get the best possible outcome for me. As I walked out of Willie's office, my heart was still heavy, but there was a sense of determination and hope. I knew that this was just the beginning of a long legal battle and that there were still countless hurdles to overcome. But with Willie's support and professional guidance, I believe that I will be able to withstand the test and eventually get out of the darkness and usher in a brand new life. Back home, I gazed at the wedding photo for a long time, recalling our former vows and promises. Everything has changed, and those sweet memories seem so distant and unreal now. I gently put the photo upside down, as if it could seal the past pain. I took a deep breath, turned on the computer, began to prepare the relevant materials to sue for divorce. I want to organize the evidence into a book, my pain and aggression on paper. Let the law do justice, justice. Outside the window, the sun was slowly sinking into the horizon, coloring the sky with a touch of blood red. I suddenly realized that this might signal the end of a chapter in my life, but at the same time, it also signaled the beginning of a whole new journey. With Willie's help and the protection of the law, I will finally get out of the ruins of my marriage, rebuild my life, and find my own happiness and dignity. Even if the road ahead is bumpy, I have to take the first step bravely, because I firmly believe that after the baptism of suffering, I will be reborn in nirvana and usher in a bright tomorrow. After a long period of agonizing and thinking, I finally made up my mind to divorce Tracy. Although my heart was still full of reluctance and hesitation, reason told me that this was the only way to defend my dignity and end this broken marriage. I began to organize the evidence of infidelity. Photographs documented Tracy's intimate moments with Ralph. Bank statements exposed their financial dealings, and detailed reports from private investigators disclosed their encounters in great detail. Every page of text, every photo, is tearing my heart, telling of Tracy's betrayal and the collapse of our marriage. I carefully categorized these materials and kept them in a safe place, ready to face Tracy at the right time. Finally, on a rainy weekend night, I gathered my courage and decided to confront Tracy at home. Outside the rain, but the atmosphere inside the house is more heavy and depressing. When Tracy pushed the door, I was sitting motionless on the living room sofa, with the shocking pile of evidence in my hand. Through the dim light, I saw a trace of anxiety and panic on Tracy's face, as if she had a premonition. I took a deep breath and tried to sound as calm and firm as possible. "We need to talk." I looked Tracy straight in the eye and spoke slowly, "About you and Ralph." "What? I don't know what you're talking about." Tracy subconsciously denied it, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her inner panic. I laughed bitterly, picked up the stack of photos and documents, and said, word for word, "Stop lying to me. These photos, these transfer records, and the private investigator's report are all proving your relationship with Ralph." Tracy's face instantly turned white. She reached up shakily to look through the pictures as tears began to well up in her eyes.
I'm sorry.
"I'm really sorry," she choked, her voice full of despair and guilt. But at this moment, no amount of tears and apologies can touch my heart. Those photos of intimate hugs and sweet smiles all stung my eyes, reminding me of my naivety and blindness towards this marriage, and Tracy's betrayal has burned indelible scars in my heart. I closed my eyes and tried to calm my tumultuous emotions. My voice was low and firm. "I have decided to get a divorce. This marriage is completely broken." Tracy sat on the couch with despair and remorse written all over her face. She seemed to want to explain something, but in the end, she just lowered her head weakly, acquiescing to my decision. I knew that from the moment she hid her infidelity, an unbridgeable rift had been created between us. Perhaps divorce is a kind of relief, so that each other can break free from this unfortunate marriage. Over the next few days, I devoted myself to preparing for my divorce. I contacted my attorney, Willie, and gave him all the evidence of Tracy's infidelity, appointing him to be my divorce attorney. Willie carefully reviewed the materials and said that the evidence was very favorable, proving that Tracy was at fault in the marriage, and that he was confident that he could help me get a satisfactory outcome. We discussed property division, alimony, etc. I said I didn't care about the money and material things. I just wanted a clean break. I said I didn't care about the money and material things. I just wanted a clean break. Willie understood and promised to try to make the divorce more favorable to me. Thus, with Willie's assistance, I filed a petition for divorce with the court. When I signed my name on the petition, I suddenly felt a sense of determination that I had never felt before. I knew it would be a tough legal battle, but I was ready to defend my dignity and rights. Although the divorce proceedings are long and tiring, I always believe that only by ending the past can we open up a new future. Tracy's infidelity has made me see the truth of our marriage, and all the vows and promises she made have been broken by her own hands. Since there is no trust and love between us, divorce may be a kind of salvation, so that each other can be freed from this painful relationship. When I walked out of the courthouse for the last time, holding the divorce decree in my hand, I felt a sense of unprecedented relief. I took a deep breath of free air, and a long-lost smile appeared on my face. Yes, the process of divorce is full of pain and entanglement, but I understand that this is the road I must go through to find myself again and start a new life. From now on, I am no longer that naive and blind husband, but a man who has experienced betrayal and hurt, but still bravely face life. I will take the lessons of the past and start a new life. I want to know myself again, to pursue the true desire of my heart, to create my own happiness. Outside the window, the rain has stopped, the clouds gradually dispersed, revealing a line of bright sunshine. I know, perhaps in the near future, belonging to my piece of blue sky will eventually appear again. During the long process of divorce litigation, I gradually realized that to get out of the haze of a broken marriage, it is not enough for me to do it on my own. I need the support and understanding from my friends and family, and from the whole society. Only with their help and encouragement can I regain my confidence and face the uncertainties of the future. First, I decided to come clean with a few of my closest friends and family. One weekend, I invited my longtime friends Mike and Jack to my home and told them about the painful experience I had been going through. They were shocked and angry when they heard about Tracy's infidelity and my decision to divorce. "Dude, you made the right decision." Mike patted me on the shoulder, his tone firm. "A woman who betrayed you is not worth continuing to pay." Jack chimed in, "Lenny, we'll always be there for you. Whatever you need help with, we'll always be there for you." The understanding and support of my friends gave me a warm feeling. I realized that it is a great fortune to have such a group of friends who sincerely think about me during the low period of my life. Next, I confessed to my family. Although my parents were shocked and heartbroken, they said they would respect my choice and give me the greatest support. My sister, Amy, even offered to take care of my daughter, Allison, so that I could devote myself to the divorce proceedings. The support of my family made me feel the bond of love that is thicker than water. Gradually, I began to realize that in addition to the support of family and friends, I needed to seek help from the wider community. On the advice of my lawyer, Willie, I joined a divorce support group. There, I met many people who were in similar situations to me. We listened to each other, shared our pain and experiences, and encouraged and comforted each other. One of them was a man named Tony, whose experience was quite similar to mine, as his wife had cheated on him and eventually got divorced. His wife had also betrayed him and eventually led to a divorce. Tony told me that at first he was in deep pain and self-doubt, but gradually, with the help of his friends and the support group, he regained the meaning and direction of his life. "Lenny, believe me, one day you'll be able to walk out too." Tony patted me on the shoulder and said, "Don't give up hope in life. There are infinite possibilities waiting for you in the future." Tony's words gave me a sense of strength that I had never felt before. Yes, why should I let a broken marriage ruin my whole life? Perhaps, through these trials and tribulations, I can grow stronger and embrace a brand new future. Gradually, in the company of my friends and family and the support group, I felt that the wounds in my heart were healing little by little. I began to re-examine my life and think about what I really wanted. I realized that perhaps the breakup of my marriage had given me a chance to make a fresh start so that I could pursue my heart's true desires. I started to try some new hobbies and reorganize my life. I signed up for a golf club because golf has always been my dream, and I began to learn to paint because I found that art could bring me inner peace. Life began to blossom again. At the same time, I have not forgotten my responsibilities as a father. I try to make time for my daughter, Allison, and face up to the pain the divorce has caused her. I told her that no matter what happens, I will always be her father, and the bond between us is something that no one can break. In this way, under the care of the people and my own efforts, I am getting out of the haze day by day and regaining my confidence and enthusiasm for life. I understand that the road of life is never smooth. The key is to learn to stand up bravely after a fall, with the scars of the past, to start a new journey. My friends often say that I have changed and become stronger and more open-minded than before. I know that these changes come from the support and encouragement they have always given me. Those hugs and words have become a light in my heart, illuminating my way forward. Yes, the breakup of my marriage has caused me a lot of pain, but at the same time, it has also made me realize what is the most precious thing in my life. Those friends and family who have always been by my side and given me unconditional support are the most precious treasure in my life. With them, I have the courage to face all the difficulties. Divorce may have changed the course of my life, but it will never change the value of my life. With everyone's blessing, I will start a new chapter in my life with a grateful heart. I believe that after all these experiences, I have grown into a more mature and wise man. In the future, there are more beautiful things waiting for me to discover and create. At this moment, I am looking forward to tomorrow, because I know that no matter how rough the road ahead is, I am no longer fighting alone. With the support of the whole community and my inner peace, I am confident that I will be able to overcome the obstacles and bravely walk towards my own happiness. Despite the support of family, friends, and the community, the emotional trauma of a broken marriage cannot be completely healed overnight. During the long process of divorce proceedings, I was actually in a state of inner struggle and suffering. On the surface, I seemed to have accepted this fact with open arms and was determined to fight for my own happiness. But when I was alone late at night, I often fell into a whirlpool of contemplation and memories, unable to extricate myself. In my mind, I kept flashing back to the time when I met, fell in love, and got married with Tracy, and the sweetness and vows I once made now seemed so ironic and unreal. I began to doubt my own failure as a husband. Was it because I was too focused on my career and neglected to care for my family, which led to my wife's betrayal? Is it that I have not paid enough in the marriage, so that Tracy and the feelings of the gradual drift away? One question, like a sharp knife piercing my heart. Sometimes, I even feel a little pity for Tracy. Perhaps she is also a victim of married life. Perhaps she has also tried to save the relationship, but ultimately unable to recover. After all, it takes two people to make a marriage work, not just one. But when I think of those unfaithful photos and see Tracy and Ralph's intimacy, a wave of uncontrollable anger and humiliation rushes through me. I hated her for cheating, I hated her for betraying me, and I hated myself for being blind and stupid. The vows we made were so easily discarded by her, and our relationship was so buried by her own hands. I became sensitive and paranoid, wary and distrustful of everything around me. I even began to doubt my friends, wondering if they were also talking about me behind my back, wondering if their concern was only out of sympathy and pity. I became withdrawn, unwilling to communicate with others, and spent my days locked up at home, licking my wounds alone. Gradually, the inner struggle and pain began to affect my daily life. I often felt unsettled, couldn't sleep at night, and even when I did sleep, I was awakened by nightmares. I began to use alcohol to numb myself, hoping that under the influence of alcohol, I could temporarily forget those chaotic thoughts. However, when I sobered up, the reality of my suffering became clearer to me. One day, when I was at home alone with a glass of wine, a phone call from my daughter, Allison, completely shattered my pretense of strength. On the other end of the phone, Allison cried and told me how upset and confused she was about her parents' divorce, and her helpless voice made my heart break. At that moment, I suddenly woke up and realized that my self-abandonment during this period of time had not only hurt myself, but also hurt my dearest daughter. How could I let my daughter go on suffering because of my own pain, and let her suffer the harm that should not belong to her? The next day, I took the initiative to find a counselor, hoping to get out of the emotional quagmire through professional psychological counseling. Under the guidance of the counselor, I began to face up to my inner trauma and learn to talk to my emotions. Gradually, my perception of the breakdown of the marriage also began to change. I realized that the breakdown of my marriage does not mean that I am a personal failure, nor does it mean that I am a bad husband. The reasons for the breakdown of the marriage are many, including Tracy's own problems. Instead of putting all the blame on myself, I should have looked at the relationship objectively. At the same time, I also realized that overindulging in the pain of the past will not change the established reality, but will hinder my steps forward. Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I should try my best to adjust my mindset and find the meaning and direction of life again. With the help of my counselor, I began to try to let go of the past and learn to reconcile with myself. I re-engaged in my work and life, and tried to get my life back on track. I began to pay more attention to my family and friends, and to manage those relationships that are worth cherishing with all my heart. Gradually, I felt a sense of inner peace and strength. Although the pain is still there, I have learned to live with it and no longer let it dominate my emotions and life. I know that only by truly forgiving myself and accepting the past can I regain my life and create a better future. One day, when I looked at those unfaithful photos again, I was surprised to find that I no longer felt so much hatred and anger inside. Yes, life is always about moving on. Since the choice of divorce, let the pain of the past with the wind. In the future, there are more possibilities waiting for me. Emotional struggles and sufferings have made me more clearly recognize my own inner desire and pursuit. I'm no longer the man who puts his self-worth entirely on marriage, but an independent and complete individual with my own goals and pursuits in life. Perhaps, through these trials and tribulations, I can truly grow and become a better version of myself. Now, when I look back at the marriage of this point by point, the heart is more a kind of calm and release. Those happy memories I will always treasure. Those painful experiences I will be regarded as the wealth of life. And the woman who used to haunt me has gradually faded out of my life. Yes, the emotional struggle was a long and arduous process, but I'm glad that I finally came out of it. Now, I am ready to start a new chapter in my life, to write a more exciting story. Because I understand that the true meaning of life does not lie in what you have experienced, but in how you face to grow. When I finally emerged from my emotional quagmire and began to truly accept myself and embrace life, I realized that it was time for me to embark on a brand new journey. After the breakup of my marriage and all the struggles, I longed to explore and discover my new self and to pursue my heart's true desires. First, I decided to leave everything behind for a while and take a trip. I took a long vacation, organized the bag, then drove the Ford Mustang alone on the road. At the beginning, this car carries all my hopes for a better married life. But now, it is to accompany me to enjoy the scenery of the unknown world. I drove aimlessly along the highway, letting the scenery change out the window. Along the way, I passed through the small town of Thames, and after admiring the quaint buildings, I stayed in a small hotel and chatted with the locals. Their friendly and simple smiles filled my heart with a warmth that had not been there for a long time. Next stop, I drove to Murdoch Woods Park, where I felt my first sense of inner peace amidst the rolling hills and verdant forests. I explored the park and even lost my way for a while. But when I finally found my way out of the mountains, I suddenly realized that life is like that. Only when you are lost can you find a way out of the darkness. Thus, I started a road trip with no destination in mind. By chance, I met Kay, an outgoing woman with a passion for life, who was traveling alone on the road in pursuit of her inner freedom. We hit it off right away and quickly became traveling buddies. Kay and I shared our experiences and insights, and I was infected by her optimism and openness. She encourages me to open my heart and embrace all the possibilities in life. Life has its ups and downs, Kay said with a smile. The key is to learn to enjoy the process and find the beauty in every day. Kay's words were like a beam of light that shone into my heart. Yes, instead of dwelling on the pain of the past, we should try to find the beauty of the present and create our own happiness. After the trip, I started to try some new hobbies. I signed up for a golf club because golf has always been my dream. On the green course, I swung the club and enjoyed the pleasure of the sport. At the same time, I met a group of like-minded golfers with whom I felt more relaxed and happy than ever before. I also began to learn to paint because I realized that art brings peace to my heart. All my worries seemed to dissipate when I was fully absorbed in the creation of the canvas. I even organized a small exhibition to show my work to the public. I feel a sense of fulfillment when I see people enjoying my paintings. Gradually, my life took on a new color. I started to be more positive about my work and life, and I started to pay more attention to the people around me. I often invited friends to my home and showed them my cooking skills. My friends joked that I had become the most attractive bachelor in their eyes. Change, too, is happening quietly. At one time, I devoted all my time and energy to my marriage and family, but neglected the importance of discovering myself. Now, Through continuous exploration and experimentation, I have begun to truly understand myself and what I really love and pursue. Of course, the process of exploring my new life has not been easy. At times, I felt lost and confused and wondered if I had made the right choice. But whenever I do, I remember what Kay once told me. There are no standard answers in life. The important thing is to be brave enough to try and create your own answers. Yes, there are no standard answers in life. Failure in marriage does not mean failure in life. The key is to learn from the past experience, to achieve a new self. And through this period of exploration, I am sure that I have found the way forward. Now, my life is dull, but full and happy. I still think of Tracy and the little things we used to do. But those memories no longer make me feel pain, but become my valuable life experience. Because I understand that it is this marriage that has created the person I am today, a more mature and wiser soul. At this moment, I am standing on the new starting point of my life, looking forward to the future with great expectations. I know that the road ahead is still long. There are infinite possibilities waiting for me to discover, to create. But I am ready to embrace every day of my life with a new attitude and write my own wonderful life. Yes, in life, there is always a time of light. And I, for one, am moving firmly toward that light. When the divorce trial was finalized, I officially started a new chapter in my independent life. Although there was inevitably a trace of loss and uneasiness in my heart, more than anything else, it was a sense of relief. I realized that only by ending the past can I embrace the future. First of all, I decided to move to a brand new neighborhood to start my rebirth project. I chose a community that was far from the city, with beautiful surroundings and friendly neighbors. As I carried my bags into the brand new apartment, a strong sense of belonging suddenly came over me. Yes, this will be the starting point of my new life, witnessing my growth and transformation. I started to learn to enjoy my life alone. I redecorated my apartment, added furniture and decorations to my liking, and filled the space with my personal touch. I also learned to cook and tried new recipes. I have never felt more satisfied than when I am alone and enjoying a quiet dinner that I have cooked myself. At work, I began to devote myself to improving my professional skills. After the divorce, I realized that the only way to be invincible in this ever-changing society is to keep improving. Gradually, I built up a good reputation among my colleagues and gained the appreciation of my supervisors. When I first took charge of an important project independently and succeeded, I felt a sense of fulfillment that is hard to describe. In my life, I began to socialize more actively. After moving, I took the initiative to greet my neighbors and quickly integrated into the community. In my spare time, I participated in various activities organized by the community and made many new friends. They come from different industries and backgrounds, but they are all very friendly and interesting. My life has been enriched by my interaction with them. At the same time, I have not forgotten my responsibilities as a father. Although Allison lives mainly with her mother, I try to make time for my daughter. We went out together, watched movies, or simply walked around the park and talked. Gradually, a new, more intimate father-daughter relationship has developed between us, and Allison is slowly coming out of the shadow of her parents' divorce and is smiling brightly again. During this time, I often thought of Kay, my best friend from the trip, and we stayed in touch, talking on the phone and sharing our lives. We stayed in touch, talking on the phone and sharing our lives, and Kay's optimism and open-mindedness were as infectious as ever. She encourages me to keep a positive attitude and believe that life will always turn for the better. Inspired by Kay, I started to explore new possibilities. I enrolled in an entrepreneurship training program, hoping to make a new breakthrough in my career. During the program, I met many like-minded partners, and we inspired each other to make progress together. Gradually, a new career direction became clearer in front of my eyes. Thus, in my post-divorce life, I have rediscovered my position and value. I am no longer the man trapped in the unfortunate marriage, but a renewed, colorful, independent individual. I learned to be alone, learned to enjoy every bit of life, and learned to embrace the world and change with a more open mind. Of course, life is not always easy. Sometimes I feel lonely and confused and wonder if I've made the right choice. But every now and then, I think of the little moments along the way. Those difficult moments, those struggles and tears, are my valuable life wealth, so that I have become stronger and wiser. Now, I can look back at the past calmly and without pain. That failed marriage taught me the true meaning of love and life, and made me realize that the true meaning of happiness lies in the process of continuous exploration and growth itself. And I, in the process, re-recognized and redefined myself. In life, there are always ups and downs, round and round. The key is to learn to find opportunities in adversity and to ignite hope in despair. And I'm glad I did. Right now, I am embracing my life with gratitude. I know that no matter how rough the road ahead is, I am ready to face it and conquer it. Because deep in my heart, I realize that the best is always behind, on the road of continuous exploration and growth. Yes, life after divorce is a rebirth for me, a rediscovery and redefinition of myself. And I, too, have gained unprecedented courage, wisdom, and strength in this process to embrace every possibility in life and to write my own beautiful chapter. Time flies, and the years go by like a shuttle. In the blink of an eye, I have already adapted to the independent life after divorce. During this time, I rediscovered myself and found a new direction and meaning in my life. I thought I had said goodbye to the past and ushered in a brand new beginning. However, life is always full of surprises. One day, I was busy at home when I received a call from my daughter, Allison. On the other end of the line, Allison's voice sounded very low. "Daddy," she said, "Mommy died." The news hit me like a bolt from the blue. Although Tracy and I had been divorced for many years, she was my wife and Allison's mother. For a while, I found it hard to accept this cruel fact. Allison told me that Tracy died in an accident. On her deathbed, she asked Allison to let me know, hoping that I could attend her funeral. I was shocked and confused by this request. After a fierce internal struggle, I finally decided to go to Tracy's funeral. When I stepped into that once familiar home again, an indescribable emotion instantly flooded my heart. Everything in front of me seemed to remain the same, except that the owner had left forever. At the funeral, I saw Ralph again. Once I thought I would hate this man to the bone. But at this moment, seeing his sad face, I actually felt a trace of inexplicable sympathy. Perhaps, in the face of life, all the grudges and feuds are no longer important. After the funeral, Allison handed me a letter. Tracy had written it to me herself on her deathbed. In the letter, Tracy once again expressed her apologies and remorse. She said that over the years, she had been reflecting on her mistakes and sincerely hoped for my forgiveness. At the last moment of her life, she finally realized that what she should cherish most is the good time we had together. After reading this letter, I was in tears. For many years, I thought I had let go of the past, but at this moment, I realized that the knot in my heart had never really been untied. Perhaps, deep down, I have been waiting for this moment to come, waiting for a chance to reconcile with the past. I stood in front of Tracy's grave for a long time, replaying our memories in my mind. Those happy times, those painful experiences have become eternal memories. I suddenly realized that perhaps each of us, in our own way, interpreted the sadness and joy of life. And those past, whether beautiful or painful, are worth being treasured because they make us today. As I left the cemetery, I felt a peace of mind that I had never felt before. I knew that I had truly forgiven Tracy and myself. Those former scars have been smoothed out by the years and turned into an eternal mark in my heart. When I got home, I called Kay. I told her that I had truly said goodbye to the past and was ready to start a new life. On the other end of the line, Kay's voice was still warm and encouraging. She said she was happy for me and believed that I would be able to reap my own happiness. Yes, the river of life never stops. Now that I have emerged from the haze of the past, what reason is there for me not to embrace the future with all my heart? In the following days, I began to pay more attention to the present moment and cherish everyone around me. Allison and I became closer, and we often talked about our lives and shared our feelings and insights. I also began to learn to open up and share my story with my friends. Every time we talked, it made me feel full and warm. Gradually, I began to try to develop a new relationship with Kay, and we began to date more and share our lives. We started to date more and share each other's lives, and I was deeply attracted to Kay's kindness, intelligence, and independence. With her company, I feel that life is full of hope and possibilities. Of course, I have not forgotten my career. After experiencing the ups and downs of life, I have a new understanding of work. I began to integrate my own experiences and feelings into my work and treat every customer and colleague with a more tolerant and understanding mindset. Gradually, I made new breakthroughs in my career and gained more respect and recognition. Now, when I look back at the past, I have no more regrets and resentments. All of my experiences have become valuable assets in my life, allowing me to learn to love, learn to be grateful, and learn how to find hope and strength in the face of adversity. Life is like a long journey, and everyone is writing a unique story in their own way. My story, although it has experienced twists and turns and ups and downs, but in the end, I still found my own happiness and direction. At this moment, I embrace every day of my life with gratitude. I know that as long as I have hope in my heart, and as long as I have the courage to face up to the trials of life, I will be able to create a better tomorrow. The road ahead is still long, but I am ready to meet every new challenge and opportunity with a more positive and open mind. Because I understand that the meaning of life is never in the end, but in the precious process. Dear Tracy, may you rest in peace. Thank you for all that you have given me. It is because of you and the memories we shared that I am a fuller and wiser person. I, too, will continue to walk on this path of exploration and growth with your blessings and infinite love for life. Together, let us embrace each new dawn with gratitude and create infinite possibilities. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.